Sathya Sai Speaks, Volume 11, Chapter 54. He whom Christ announced, Part 1 of 2. Religions arise from the minds of good men who crave to make all men good. They strive to eliminate evil and cure the bad. They are many, since they have to be adjusted to the individuals, their activities, their professions and roles, their character and characteristics. The individual has to start observing the limits and laws laid down and derive joy and strength thereby. And then his cleansed mind will lead the way to higher and higher stages, and he and the society of which he is a unit will benefit thereby. It is therefore appropriate that the birthday of Jesus, who felt the need to save mankind and who strove to achieve it, is celebrated. But the celebration must take the form of adherence to the teachings, loyalty to the principles, practicing the disciplines, and experiencing the awareness of the divine that he sought to arouse. These days, the world is deriving satisfaction in mere words and in witnessing clever rules designed to cover up one's faults. The birthdays of the greats are honored by such hypocrisy and external pomp. There is no examination in the light of the message they gave, nor any effort to practice it and derive the bliss it promises. The great teachers belong to mankind. It is wrong to believe that Jesus belongs only to the Christians, or that Christmas is a holy festival for the West only. To accept one of them as one's own and discard the rest as belonging to others is a sign of pettiness. Christ, Rama, Krishna, they are all for all men everywhere. Man's life is conditioned by feelings and deeds. The various limbs and organs together form a body. Various nations and communities together form the world. The sustenance given by divine grace circulates in every part of the body, helping it to function in unison. The stream of love endowed by divine grace has to circulate in every state and community to make the world live in peace and joy. If this truth is realized, there will arise no idea of difference. If the members of a family are at loggerheads, the lands and other possessions of the family will be uncared for and be either wasted or lost. The separation of one member will also be a big loss, for the grace that sustains the family will diminish and be lost. When a hand is amputated, the limb loses its function, and a great deal of blood too is lost during the removal. So too, the divine grace of love is lost when a country sets itself apart. It also becomes a weak and functionless limb of the world community. Division, difference, and distinction cuts one off from the life-giving grace that feeds every cell of the body and every individual in the world. The world is sustained by the self-same grace. A tree requires for its growth soil, sunlight, and atmosphere. But more than any of these, it requires the seed. Man's life is conditioned by feelings and deeds and the consequences of these feelings and deeds. But his existence, his very I-ness, this depends on the will of God. Growing trees may differ according to the nature of the soil, the quantity of sunlight and the quality of the soil. So too, men may differ according to the consequences of the types of feelings and deeds that emanate from them. But just as it is true to say that all seeds originate from the same source, so too is the essence of humanity one and undivided. The diversity of forms, emotions, attitudes, communities, and loyalties. These all arise from man's failure to recognize his fundamental unity in the divine will and his actions that deviate from that unity. Meaning of three statements made by Christ. The moving water of a river has the moon in its depths. The still water of a lake has also the moon underneath. The sky has the moon up above. The moon in a flowing river is broken and fragmentary. It flows fast, apparently with the floods. The moon in the lake is calm, unmoved, undistracted. These two are but reflections of the real moon in the sky. The moon reflected in the flood is the individual soul engaged in activity, embroiled in Maya, cause and effect. The moon reflected in the placid face of the lake is the yogi, the saint who has attained balance, equipoise, peace, dwelling in the One. The real moon in the sky is the eternal witness, the absolute, the primal principle. Christ spoke of these three stages when he made three statements, one after the other. Referring to the active individualized soul like the flickering moon, he said, "I am the messenger of God." Speaking as the yogi who has transcended dualities and attained balance, he declared, "I am the Son of God." Finally, towards the end of his life, realizing that these two are but reflections and that the real moon is the witness in the sky, and that he too is the formless, nameless absolute, he declared, "I and my Father are one." All beings are images of the universal Atma in the names and forms they have apparently assumed. This is the truth, enclosed, elaborated and demonstrated in the spiritual texts of India, which form the basis of the Bharatiya culture. The essence of all religions and faiths, then, is this: the merging in this unity. The goal of all spiritual endeavor is this: the merging in this unity. The object of all inquiry is this: to cognize this unity. But this patent fact is ignored, and persons create strife, anxiety, and unrest for themselves, and perpetuate horrors to hold forth the support, the disunity so dear to their fractioned minds. People today relish the very things religion condemned. The passage of time has clouded the splendor of the message, and the fascination exercised by the material and the worldly has drawn them away from the path, while the expansion of science and technology has made them conceited and wrong-headed. So people now relish the very things forbidden and promote the very things condemned by religion. All religions teach that one should revere the parents and evince gratitude to them. But ridiculing them and neglecting them have become fashionable now. All religions lay down that the aged are to be honored. since they are repositories of experience and their guidance is indispensable. But now, elders and the aged are treated as nuisances and handicaps. All religions insist on truth, but now the man who sticks to truth is laughed at as if he were a fool. Cruelty and violence, condemned by all religions, have raised themselves to the status of weapons of progress and means of desirable ends. However, the basic truths of religions are not affected or tarnished by the evil that men practice or the competitive propaganda they indulge in. On Christ's birthday, sacrifice at least a desire or two. Only those who are not keen on practicing the message will waste their energies in condemning other religions and glorifying their own. And once you enter sincerely into the path of spiritual practice, the urge to find faults in others or publish one's own excellences will disappear. Such people will celebrate the birthday of the founders in a spirit of dedication, deepening the faith in their hearts and revering its doctrines by more intense practice rather than by more empathetic argumentation. If one has the yearning to reach the goal, one has to follow the path that leads to it. When you learn to reach God, you have to observe the guidelines He has marked out. You need not dwell on His name or on His lineaments all the time. That may not take you far. But walk along the path and every step will bring you near. When you need to reach a village, you have to rise and move towards it. It will not rise and move towards you. When you need to reach God, rise and move as He has directed you to. By this means alone, you can make life worthwhile. Jesus taught simple practical lessons in spiritual advancement for the good of mankind. He manifested divine powers to instill faith in the validity of His teachings. He marked out the path that can confer on men the sweet nectar of Ananda. He exhorted people by precept, an example to cultivate the virtues of charity, compassion, forbearance, love, and faith. These are not separate and distinct qualities. They are only the many facets of the divine in man, which he has to recognize and develop. Significance of the story related to Christ's birth. People talk of the sacrifice of Christ as evidence by His crucifixion. But He was surrounded and bound and crowned by the crowd who captured Him with a crown of thorns and later nailed to the cross by His captors. A person bound and beaten by the police cannot say that he has sacrificed anything, for he is not a free man. Let us pay attention to the sacrifice that Jesus made while free, out of His own volition. Christ sacrificed His happiness, prosperity, comfort, safety, and position. He braved the enmity of the powerful. He refused to yield or compromise. Christ renounced the ego, which is the toughest thing to get rid of. Honor Him for these. He willingly sacrificed the desires with which the body torments man, and this is the sacrifice greater than the sacrifice of the body under duress. The celebration of his birthday has to be marked by your sacrificing at least a desire or two, and conquering at least the more disastrous urges of the ego. The followers of Jesus have got broken into schisms on various counts, but the life of Christ is a lesson of unity. When Christ was on the cross, ill feelings towards the men who tortured him troubled him. Suddenly he heard a voice alerting him, "All life is one. My dear son, be a light to everyone." This was followed by another admonition, "Death is the dress of life." Just as one discards worn clothes and wears a new set, the soul dons and doffs bodies. Therefore, Jesus was warned against hatred and ill feelings, as well as the lamentation to which man is heir. End of part 1 of 2, Bangalore, December 24, 1972.